Or I have to question, is having 3 martinis too much? Well, if you ask the question, that means it's probably too much.
Welcome to Yes, I'm Still Sober with John Rabin, episode 12. Hello, everybody. Hope everybody's doing all right. Here we are again. This is a special day. It's September 12th, and what that is, September 12th is my mother's birthday, but it's also my sobriety date. As I have mentioned in past episodes more than once, I made, because it's kind of arbitrary, the date, even though I had quit drinking a few weeks prior, I ended up making my sobriety date my mom's birthday because I thought that would be, I don't know, that added an extra significance to it. And as of today, so officially, whatever, it's been 6 years. 6 years sober. And it's... I'd like to thank all my supporters and family. So, yeah, and it's encouraging. And it's funny because every year has been less and less, like, I've reacted less and less to it. Like, I think my first, 1 year sober, I wrote this big, long blog. And I did. The next year, I wrote a little bit less. I think year 3, I just wrote a Facebook post. Year 4, I don't know. I think last year I just posted a picture. I was half expecting this year not to do shit, but since the podcast landed on the day, of course I'm going to talk about it, mention it. It's also a little scary. There's also a little, keeping you grounded. That's the thing, is that Demi Lovato was 6 years sober when she relapsed and then later OD'd. So it's still, that shit still sits around you. You still have to be diligent, mindful, and other words. But no, I'm feeling good. Doing all right. Real quick, I don't have sponsors, but I do occasionally like to give a shout out to products that I use. And real quick, so let me do a quick advertisement for Energizer Max batteries. These are the batteries that I use in my Xbox controller. So just remember Energizer, because fuck Duracell. There. Yeah, Energizer Bunny's annoying, but Duracell's some shitty-ass batteries. It's amazing the difference. They really ought to just allow expletives in advertising. They really, I don't know. Got to protect children, I guess. I wouldn't know. So, 6 years, man. I'm going to... It's a big change. My one thing that's always strange is that my dishwashing job, I work on East 6th, and it's really odd because the location of where I wash dishes is in the same block where 8 years ago I've bought heroin. Like, that gives you any kind of indication on how fast Austin has developed and changed. That's a reality. Is that an eatery where lots of white people go was an area that they sure did not less than 10 years ago. Also, another difference is that, one of the benefits of my job is the servers tip me out. So I go home with cash all the time. And, after working I work almost 10 hours a day, 4 days a week, and I like that. But so like by the end of my work week, I have all this cash, and that used to be a fucking trigger. Man, Hamilton used to be a trigger, and now Hamilton is a musical that I'm going to go see this weekend in Chicago, celebrating my girlfriend's birthday. I'm going on vacation for the first time in 12 years. It's interesting, man. I'm going to go see Hamilton, and paid for tickets that I normally would go, you got to be out of your goddamn mind. I'm not paying that much to go see a musical. I don't think I'd pay that much to see the actual Hamilton. Come on, just a couple $100, you can see a corpse. No. Things change. You know, here's the thing, and I know I like to poke fun at 12-steppers. No, just the outdated and the weird ass shit in the programs. One of the weird things that some AA people do is, so their sobriety date, they call it their birthday, right? So you know what they call their actual birthday? They call it their actual birthdays belly button birthdays. That is unsettling, and it's fucking bizarre. I've never done that, and I remember the first time I heard that in one of my court appointed meetings that I had to go to, and I couldn't wrap my head around how unsettling. I don't know if it's because I'm not a fan of belly buttons. Like, they're just kind of weird. They're not gross, but they're a little gross. They're just like human lint traps. They're just kind of they're just there, and if you look at them too long, they just kind of they kind of creep you out. So using that in the name, and also, I don't know, it's kind of like you're establishing your priorities wrong when you're calling your sobriety date your actual birthday, and then your actual birthday you're calling it something else. Why don't you just sobriety date? Sobriety anniversary. Are you really trying to conserve syllables? You don't want to use too many words? I'd rather use one word than two. I don't get it. It's bizarre. It's very, very strange. Had to pause for a second because I was planning on cleaning the cat box out and taking the trash out after I figured I could record the podcast real quick, and then I'd take care of the issues going on outside of my room after that. But it was wafting in. Wafting? I may have to look up how it smelled. It smelled like shit, and I couldn't. It was distracting, and I had to take care of it. Thanks, Kitty, by the way. Appreciate it. So I had to take care of that. Anyway, yeah, so we celebrated my mom's birthday, and the sobriety. Mom gave me the fancy AA chip that she gives me every year. And then me and the girlfriend took my mother out to eat yesterday, and we ate at Hoover's. People in Austin, if you're not eating it, it's never busy in there, and it should be. Hoover's cooking it's just down the street from my apartment complex, but on Manor. But it is, I don't know. You guys need to quit with your trendy bullshit and go eat some fucking home cooking at Hoover's. There's no reason that place should be as dead as it is. It's just catfish and chicken fried steak, and it's just it's amazing. Go eat at Hoover's, everybody. For God's sakes, eat some real food and quit your fusion obsession. Anyway, one thing that I haven't really talked about, there's always been, you don't hear about it as much anymore. I think people have kind of calmed down on it, but there's always somebody, I don't know what it is. maybe it's our addiction to attention that's just been increased and manipulated by social media. But the idea that whenever anybody is given any kind of recognition for whatever, there's always somebody who's like, well, what about me? And that this happens with sobriety shit a lot. When somebody's been sober for, I was a bad alcoholic, but now I've been sober for 20 years. And people are like, oh, that's so great. That's so good. And there's always somebody going, yeah, well, I never had a drinking problem. Where's my recognition? Why don't I get recognized for never taking any kind of chances and being a boring son of a bitch the entire life? I've done everything that I've been told. I got my job and I stay at my job. I don't do anything and take any kind of risks. And I just stay in my lane. And I'm the most boring human being that you've ever met. Where's my recognition? Okay, well, here you go. Jesus Christ, will you just let the guy be sober? Why does it always got to be about you? Let somebody have their moment. They self-destructed and then somehow made it out, and you can't let them just, congratulations on not having an addictive personality. Good for you. Go back to the docks. I just don't understand why people can't just... It's always the selective empathy in this country, in this world. It's always something. It's like, yeah, well, let me tell you about the problems that... Yeah, we all have fucking problems. You can quit making it a competition. It's like, I've suffered more. Great. Good for you. Doesn't matter. I just don't understand people. Don't call yourself brave, by the way. There's nothing more turn-offish. Nothing turns me off more than when somebody wants to be recognized for being brave. It's other people should call you that. It's not something, you don't need to label yourself as look at the courage that you know what? If you got to say it, you don't have it. How about that? You don't. It's anybody that said that anybody that wants people to notice something about them, I'm the best at something. Well, normally people notice that. That's not something you have to call attention to. If you have to bring it up repeatedly on how, on something about yourself, that means you're not. One last thing here's something I did want to mention, since we're, talking about just the sobriety thing. This is actually a thing that came out today. It's there's a Senate opioid bill that's probably going to pass, and it's mixed. Of course, like everything else, this is from the Washington Post. The reaction to the bill and a similar measure passed by the House in June has been mixed. The package is heartening and frustrating. Heartening because it offers some positive steps, and frustrating because it doesn't do more. Like everything. But and they describe it as basically, this is an election year bill to show that they are doing something. That's not always a bad thing, but I do think that some degree it's a political document, of course. That's from Daniel Raymond of the Harm Reduction Coalition, whatever that is. I'd look it up, but I'm lazy. So here's a couple of the things that they're going to do, and I wanted one of them was stop illegal fentanyl from entering the country. Good luck with that. But it's going to Here's what it does. The bill would close loopholes in the U.S. Postal Service that allow people to sneak fentanyl into the country through the mail. The U.S. Postal Service currently does not know what is in packages packages that come in from abroad. This bill would require that foreign packages reveal their contents and where and who they're coming from. Let me read that again. This bill is going to require that every single package that comes in from outside of the United States has to reveal their contents and where and who they're coming from. So outside of the drug problem and the fentanyl problem, this is changing. That's dramatically changing the U.S. Postal Service. That's going to kill the Postal Service, by the way. I think it will. I think this will be the final bullet because, yeah, either that or people are just going to lie. Maybe people will do, oh, yeah, it's teddy bears. Yeah, that's the ticket. That's what's in the package. It's stuffed animals. I don't know if that means that they're going to actually have to. Does that mean they're going to start opening them? I know a lot of people that listen to me are kind of shifty. So, hey, if you get shit shipped to you from outside of the United States, you may want to not use the Postal Service anymore. And actually, you probably shouldn't have been using it anyway. Not to give you some illegal business 101. Don't use the post office. Don't use USPS. I know other podcasts will tell you about stamps.com, but maybe use a different carrier. Anyway, here's the other thing that the bill is going to do is they're actually going to support for people in treatment and in recovery. That sounds positive. Let's see if it is. Nearly everyone in the public health sector agrees that that access to treatment and recovery programs will be more successful than trying to stop the prescribing or trafficking of drugs. The bill does several things on this front. It authorizes a grant program through the Substance Abuse and Mental Health Services Administration, SAMHSA, to allow organizations to develop opioid recovery centers in a community. It also requires that the Department of Health and Human Services to determine best practices and then create a grant program implementing those policies and procedures. Now, granted, it's grant programs and stuff that's basically like competition. So that's not necessarily a great thing. I mean, it's better than nothing, but so it's like, hey, there's these things, but you've got to really fight for it. So the other thing that it does is it loosens some guidelines around medication-assisted treatment. It lifts the cap on the number of patients to whom a qualified doctor can prescribe drugs like buprenorphine, and I've talked about that a couple of episodes ago. The buprenorphine is a drug proven effective at limiting opioid cravings and easing withdrawal. Now, buprenorphine is the reason that there was a limitation is because it is technically an opioid. It has a ceiling of the effects, so it's not as addictive, and it doesn't get you as high, so it's not abused as often. But that's why. And what I've mentioned before is the best drug to get at that is called Suboxone. Suboxone is buprenorphine, and then it has naloxone in it. Naloxone is the blockers that basically kill any effect with your opioid receptors. So this, if you take Suboxone that has the naloxone in it, and you go, fuck it, I'm going to get high. You can't. You go take it and it'll make you sick. And you won't get high if you go do heroin or fentanyl or whatever afterwards. So that's keep that in mind. If anybody asks, it's Suboxone. That's the one. But so they're going to lift the restrictions, doctors, so that they can actually prescribe that more. Here's the thing, though, that I found out. Naloxone, like the most common brand of naloxone is Narcan. Naloxone is what they use to bring people out of an opioid overdose. And the thing is that this drug has been around for 30 years. And it should be cheap as shit. It should be readily available easy to get at a store, easy to get anywhere. Like everybody should, it's affordable enough that everybody should carry it on them at all times. I don't know why you would, but you could. Like you could technically, because I mean, it's in developing countries, the generic version, you can get it from like 50 cents to a max of $5 a dose. But the thing about it is that in the United States, because of drug companies, they've got these auto injectors of naloxone. 4 years ago, an auto injector, a pair of auto injectors of naloxone cost $690. 2 years later, it costs $4,500. That's some fucking shit right there. $4,500. This is what drug makers do. First, they misrepresent the addictive quality of their drugs. So they basically make the opioid crisis even worse than it is. And now they're trying to profit off of the... now other companies are trying to profit off the problem. And I don't know. At some point, I don't know what they're going to do. I don't know if they'll ever do it, because as much money as they pump into Washington, I don't know if anybody will ever take them on. But they need to get kicked in the balls. I don't know if that'll ever help. But fuck drug companies is basically what I'm saying. Well, thanks for going with me on that. Oh, one thing that happened this week. This is weird. I've gotten compliments on my shoes. Twice, like by dudes. I don't understand it. It threw me off both times. One time at the grocery store and one time at the bus stop. Now, the skate shoes that I have, I mean, if you know, this is a good time to let you know my position on the Colin Kaepernick thing with Nike. Here's my position. Buy American. Yeah. Oh, I'm sorry. American. That's the shoes I wear, is America's with an E. E-M-E-R-I-C-A. America skate shoes. They fucking rule is what they do, and apparently they look really good. Old man behind me at HEB goes, hey, is that suede? It's not. But it looks good. Suede-ish. It looks the best part is that I knew they weren't suede shoes, but I stared at my shoes anyway and went, no. Like I know, no, they're not suede. But and then at the bus stop, the guy's like, those are some great shoes, man. Really? All right. I mean, yes, thank you. God damn, that's weird. So, yeah. I've never had people compliment me on my shoes before, but apparently these shoes rule. They're very comfortable. So even if you if you like skate shoes, man, go Americas. That way people won't. There's nothing political about them. They're just comfortable goddamn shoes. So that's my stance on there. Buy what you want. I go, you got to be cool-ish. At least that's what I tell myself. Well, I think that's about it today. I don't know. I don't think I have anything else I really wanted to get into. I guess I could. The one thing that they do if you go into an AA meeting and you're celebrating, you're picking up your chip or whatever, they usually the big thing that they ask is, how did you do it? Like you're going to be able to tell everybody right away. It's like, it's one day at a time. Ba-dun-dun-dun-dun. Just one step forward. I don't know what to say. But that's really it. You can't really, you just gotta, you do take it day by day. You do just kind of it's just the mindset. You just kind of go when you convince yourself that you've got to change, and you start changing, and then you just eventually it just gets better. It eventually gets better. It sucks, and then it gets better. Then it sucks again, then it gets better. Then it sucks, then it gets better. You just keep going, man. You got to keep trying. It's about changing your thought patterns. It's about changing habits, and it requires some fucking effort, and it requires just working on yourself. And eventually, I don't know. I think you have to keep challenging yourself too. That was the deal. Is I got really comfortable after a few years. I got really like, you know what, this is it. And I did that thing where I said, yeah, you know what, I'm good. This is just how it's going to be from now on. I'm retired from dating. I'm just going to be solo. Going to just do comedy when I can. And I'm not going to do anything else. This is, I like where I'm at. I'm very comfortable. And then I wasn't comfortable. Then I got forced into dealing with someone of the opposite sex. Started dating somebody. Kind of got inspired. Got out of my comfort zone. I decided to start this podcast. I recorded an album, which it's coming, by the way, next month. Definitely, I set this limit. I've got a friend who's designing the album cover, and I gave him a really big window, because that's what you do for artists. You give them a lot of time to procrastinate, but you give them a deadline. You just give the deadline way far in advance. That way they go, oh, I've got plenty of time, and then they don't do it, and then you're like, oh, fuck, I got a week, and then they do their best work. So, it's almost finished editing, and it's so that's coming. I mean, so there's a lot of things that I don't know where I go from here, but that's the one thing, is remembering to at least have some goals. At least try new things. Don't get too comfortable. Comfortable is great for a while, but after a while you start to stagnate. So don't tread water too long. So just try to progress forward. That's how I did it. Also, you have to live till you're 40. You have to somehow make it. And you have to get really exhausted with your behavior. That was the other reason. Maybe, and go to jail for 6 months. That was the other thing how'd you do it? I went to jail for 6 months. Good luck. It's not always the best advice, but yeah, here's to several years more, theoretically. And I'm going to keep doing this shit, so we will see you next week. This has been Yes, I'm Still Sober. I'm John Raven, as always. I'll see you when I see you.
Red wine, a little smoke, a whole lot of loving. That's all I need. Make it through the night. Cold beer, cold shoulder, just one glass of whiskey. That's all it takes. Push me over the line. Set 'em up, I'll knock 'em down.